She saw him standing there, a small boy, drenched to the bone, lost and shivering under the heavy rain. She didn't know his name or where he came from, but the moment she stepped forward to help him, her life became entangled with the city's most dangerous man. Because that child, that innocent little boy, was the son of a mafia boss feared by everyone. It was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon, the kind where people hurry home before the storm begins. But for Emma Carter, a young woman with a kind heart and tired eyes, that day would change everything. She'd just finished her shift at the diner. The clouds above the city turned a deep, angry gray, thunder rolling like a warning. Emma thinking softly, just a few more blocks I can make it before it pours. But suddenly, she stops. A small figure is standing at the corner ahead. That's when she saw him, a little boy, no more than 6, standing alone in the rain without a coat. His small hands clutched a torn backpack, his dark hair plastered to his forehead. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay? Where's your mom?" Something in his gaze froze her heart. He looked lost, not just in the street, but in the world. Emma thinking, there's no one else here, no car, no parent, nothing. Emma, it's okay. I won't hurt you. Are you lost? Boy barely whispering. I can't find him. Emma, find who? He looks down, voice trembling. My papa. Every instinct told her to keep walking, but something deeper, something human, wouldn't let her leave him there. She removes her coat, draping it around the boy's shoulders. Emma gently, "You're freezing. Come with me, we'll find help, okay?" He nods hesitantly, his small hand gripping hers. The touch is cold, trembling. She didn't know it yet, but the moment she took his hand, her fate was sealed. The storm followed them all the way home. By the time they arrived, both were soaked to the bone. "Let's get you warm first, okay?" Emma softly smiling. "What's your name?" "Oi." "Luca." "Emma. That's a beautiful name." "I'm Emma." He nods faintly, eyes darting around the small room, noticing the clock, the worn-out couch, the sound of rain on the glass. He looked out of place. His clothes, though soaked, were expensive, a small embroidered emblem on his jacket, a golden crest she didn't recognize. Emma thinking, that's not from around here. She hands him a mug of warm milk. "Emma, we'll figure out where your dad is in the morning, okay? You can stay here tonight." Luca nods but doesn't smile. He just whispers softly, "Luca, he'll be angry if I don't come back." Emma frowning. "Why? Did you run away?" Luca doesn't answer. He clutches the small pendant hanging around his neck, a silver charm shaped like a lion's head. There was something strange about that pendant, something that made her uneasy though she didn't know why. Hours later, the storm still rages outside. Emma sits at the kitchen table, thinking. Luca sleeps curled up on the couch. Sound. Clock ticking softly. She picks up her phone, debating whether to call the police. Emma thinking aloud. If I report him missing, maybe his family's already searching. But just as she reaches for the phone, it starts ringing. Unknown number. She freezes. Phone keeps ringing. Rain pounds louder. A chill crept up her spine. She didn't remember giving anyone her number. "Hello? Unknown man on phone. You have something that belongs to me." Emma's breath catches. She glances toward Luca sleeping on the couch. Emma nervous. "Who is this?" The voice doesn't answer directly, just says softly, with menace, "Unknown man. Take care of him until I come." The line goes dead. Static hums. Emma stares at the phone, heart pounding. The call lasted less than 10 seconds, but those words would haunt her for the rest of her life. Night deepens. The rain eases, but the wind howls through the alley outside. Emma checks the window, and her heart skips a beat. A black car is parked across the street, headlights off. 2 figures sit inside, unmoving. Emma whispering to herself, "Who are they?" She quickly closes the curtains, breathing fast. Something wasn't right. She could feel eyes watching her through the rain. She looks at Luca, asleep and peaceful, completely unaware of the danger outside. She didn't know it yet. But the boy she'd taken in wasn't just lost. He was being hunted. Thunder rolls again, lightning flashes, illuminating the shadow of a man standing near the car. And before dawn came, they would come for him. That night, she believed she was protecting an innocent child from the storm. But what she didn't know was that she just invited danger into her home, and that every secret hidden in those dark eyes would soon unravel her entire world. When the sun rose the next morning, the storm had passed, but the fear hadn't. Emma thought the danger was gone, just a dream washed away by the rain. But as shadows lingered outside her window, she realized someone had never stopped watching. The storm had passed, leaving the city soaked and silent. For most people, it was a new morning. But for Emma Carter, it felt like the calm before something far worse. Visual. Emma stands by the window, sipping tea, watching raindrops slide down the glass. Her face is tired, anxious. She hadn't slept much. Every creak in the floorboards, every whisper of wind made her jump. And that black car, the one parked outside last night, it was gone. Emma thinking softly. Maybe it was nothing, maybe I imagined it. She glances over to the couch. Luca is still asleep, clutching his lion pendant. The boy looked peaceful now, but in his small, sleeping face, there was a quiet sadness, the kind that came from a world far beyond his years. Emma exhales, forcing a small smile. Emma softly to herself, I'll take him to the police today. They'll know what to do. Scene. Emma prepares breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, a small cup of milk. Luca wakes up, blinking sleepily. Emma gently, Morning, Luca. How are you feeling? Luca quietly, Better, thank you. He looks around, hesitating before asking, Luca, did anyone call? Emma freezes, recalling the deep voice from last night. Emma forcing calm. No one important. Don't worry. But her hand trembles slightly as she sets down the plate. Narrator, subtle tension. She didn't want to scare him. But that voice, you have something that belongs to me, kept echoing in her mind. Luca sits quietly, eating. His eyes dart toward the window now and then, as if he expects someone to appear. Emma watching him. Luca, can you tell me where your father is? Or your mom? He hesitates, glancing down at his food. Luca softly. Mama's gone. Emma gently. And your papa? He says nothing, just clutches his pendant tighter. A faint shadow crosses his face. She wanted to ask more, but something about the look in his eyes told her not to. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper. A secret. Emma startled. Stay here. She walks to the window slowly. A black SUV has parked across the street again. Two men in suits step out, scanning the area. Her heart stopped. They weren't neighbors and they weren't police. Their eyes were searching, cold, calculated. One of them looks up, directly at her window. She ducks instantly. Emma whispering, panicked. No, no, no. She turns back. Luca is standing behind her, eyes wide. Luca quietly. They found me. The knock wasn't frantic. It was calm, controlled. The kind that told her, whoever was outside, knew exactly what they were doing. Emma whispers, voice trembling. Emma. Luca, go to my room. Lock the door and don't make a sound. He nods quickly, running off. She stands frozen for a moment before the knocking returns, louder this time. Voice outside, calm. Miss Carter, we just want to talk. She doesn't move. The air feels thick. A long pause. Voice. We know the boy's with you. Emma's pulse races. She grips her phone, whispering to herself. Emma, call the police, call the police. But before she can dial, a second voice speaks, softer, different. Unknown man, urgent whisper. Don't open the door. Don't trust them. She freezes, peering through the peephole. A tall man in a gray coat stands a few steps away from the door, face shadowed by the hood. The men in suits glance at him warily. A stranger, warning her from the rain. His presence made the men hesitate, just long enough for her to breathe. One of the suited men turns and walks toward the stranger. Man in suit. You shouldn't get involved. The gray-coated stranger smirks faintly. Stranger, maybe I already am. When Emma finally dared to open the door, he was still there. Emma uneasy. Who are you? What do you want? Stranger calmly. My name doesn't matter. What matters is you're in danger. He glances inside the apartment briefly. Stranger, you found the boy, didn't you? Emma hesitant. He was alone in the rain. I couldn't just leave him there. Stranger quietly. That boy's not just lost. He's the son of Matteo Di Luca. Emma frowns, confused. Emma. Who? The man steps closer. His tone darkens. Stranger. The most feared mafia boss in the city. Sound. Distant thunder again. Rain intensifies slightly. Emma stunned whisper. You're joking. Stranger. I wish I was. People disappear for less than what you've done. She steps back, trembling slightly. Emma. I was just trying to help a child. Stranger nodding. And that's what makes this dangerous. Good intentions mean nothing in his world. You need to take the boy somewhere safe. No. Emma looks toward the hallway, Luca peeking from behind the door, scared but listening. Emma determined. I'm not leaving him. The stranger looks at her for a long moment, respect flickering in his eyes. Stranger softly. Then you better start praying. Stranger. Matteo Di Luca runs the Northern Syndicate. He's ruthless, but there's one thing that breaks him, that boy. If Luca's missing, the city will bleed before he stops searching. Emma covers her mouth, whispering. Emma. Then why aren't the police involved? Stranger grimly. Because even they're afraid of him. The truth began to sink in. The voice on the phone last night. The car outside. None of it was coincidence. The stranger steps back toward the door. Stranger quietly. They'll be back. Next time they won't just knock. He starts walking away into the rain. Emma calls after him. Emma. Wait. Why are you helping us? He pauses without turning back. Stranger. Because once someone helped me. He disappears into the misty rain. She stood there in silence, heart pounding, rain dripping from the open door. She didn't even know his name, but his warning was clear. The shadows she feared weren't gone. They were just waiting. As the rain began to fall again, Emma looked at the boy, frightened, fragile, and silent. She had no idea where to go or who to trust. But somewhere, out there in the city, a furious father was already tearing everything apart to find his son. She thought she'd just rescued a lost child. But the moment she opened that tiny silver locket around his neck, the world she knew began to crumble. Inside was a photo of a man whose name made even the police tremble. The man they called Vincenzo Moretti, the most feared mafia boss in all of Italy. And the boy sitting quietly in her home was his son. The next morning arrived slower than usual. The storm had passed, but the silence it left behind felt heavier than thunder. Elena sat by the small wooden table, watching steam rise from a chipped cup of tea. Across from her, the boy, Matteo, played with the edge of a napkin, his tiny fingers tracing invisible shapes. He hadn't said much since last night, only his name. Matteo. Pause. But something about his quietness, the way his deep brown eyes avoided hers, told her this child carried more than fear. He carried secrets. Elena softly. Matteo. Where is your home, sweetheart? Where are your parents? The boy hesitates, biting his lip. Matteo whispering. Papa told me never to tell anyone. Elena. Trying to smile, it's okay. You're safe here. You can tell me. Matteo. Quietly, almost trembling. If I tell you, bad men will come. Her hands froze around her teacup. Bad men. The words echoed in her mind like a warning. Later that morning, while Matteo napped on the couch, Elena gently picked up his small jacket to hang it near the fire. But something heavy slid from the pocket and fell to the floor, a silver locket. When she opened it, her breath caught in her throat. Inside was a photograph of a man with cold, sharp eyes and a scar running down his jaw. The kind of face you didn't forget. Beside him was a woman, elegant but tired, holding the same little boy asleep against her chest. And carved faintly into the metal, a name. Vincenzo Moretti. beat of silence. Tension builds. Elena's heart raced. That name. She'd heard it before. Not in kindness. Not in safety. But in fear. In this town, people whispered that name only in shadows. Moretti, the man who ruled the underground like a king. A man whose word could make someone disappear. A man whose crime stretched across borders and oceans. And whose rage was said to be merciless when someone touched what was his. Elena flinched, peeking through the curtain. A black car parked across the street. Her pulse quickened. Elena whispering to herself, "No, it can't be them. Not this soon." She stepped back, closing the curtain slowly. Her mind raced. Should she call the police? But what would she even say? "I found the son of a mafia boss?" No one would believe her. Worse, if they did, she could be signing her own death sentence. She turned to look at Matteo, his innocent face pressed against the cushion, breathing softly. And for a brief moment, her fear melted. He was just a child. A lost, frightened boy. He didn't ask for this life. Elena whispered to herself, "I'll protect you, no matter what." But safety, in her world, was just an illusion. Because somewhere, not too far away, a man was tearing through the city, his black gloves gripping the steering wheel, rage burning in his eyes. Vincenzo Moretti. He just learned his son had gone missing. And for a man like him, that wasn't just panic. It was war. Elena stood by the window again, watching the rain begin to fall harder. Something inside her whispered, this wasn't over. Far from it. Suddenly, a knock. 3 sharp, slow knocks. She froze. No one ever visited her. Elena whispering, who could that be? She peeked through the peephole, but saw nothing. Only the blurred outline of rain. Then, another knock. Louder. Her breath hitched as she glanced back at Matteo, still asleep. Every instinct screamed, don't open that door. But curiosity and fear are a dangerous mix. Standing there was a man in a soaked trench coat, his face partly hidden beneath a hat. Stranger calm, cold. "Good afternoon. I'm looking for a boy, about 6 years old. Curly hair, brown eyes." Answers to the name Matteo. Elena stiffens, forcing a nervous smile. "Elena, I'm sorry, you must have the wrong place." Stranger tilting his head. "Are you sure, Signora? He went missing last night. His father is very worried." Her pulse thundered in her ears. She tried to stay calm, but her trembling hand on the door gave her away. The man's eyes darkened. Stranger quietly, "If you see him, tell his father she'll be found too." He smirks faintly, then walks away into the rain. Elena quickly locks the door, her breath shaking. She turns around, Matteo now standing in the hallway, holding his stuffed bear watching her. Matteo softly, "Was that Papa's man?" Elena freezes, eyes widening. "Elena, how do you know that?" Matteo tearful, "Because that's the man who took Mama away." The world around Elena seemed to blur. The boy she saved wasn't just lost. He was hunted. And now, so was she. Because when you save the son of the most feared mafia boss, you don't just earn his gratitude. You inherit his enemies. They came without warning. Black cars cutting through the daylight like shadows with guns. Elena barely had seconds to react, to grab the boy, to hide. She didn't know who they were. But they weren't here to save Matteo. They were here to silence him. And anyone who stood in their way. The day started too quiet. The kind of silence that only exists before chaos. Elena stood by the kitchen window, her hands gripping the sink, eyes lost in thought. The stranger's threat from yesterday still echoed in her mind. She'll be found too. She hadn't slept. Every sound, every passing car, made her flinch. She knew danger was closing in. But she didn't know how close it already was. Matteo sat cross-legged on the couch, drawing a house, small, with flowers outside. He looked peaceful, innocent. But when he looked up, there was sadness in his eyes, the kind children should know. Elena softly, "What are you drawing, Matteo?" Matteo quietly, "A home, where it doesn't rain anymore." Pause, soft piano music begins. emotional and tender. Narrator. Her heart tightened. In that moment, Elena wished she could give him that. A world without fear, without storms. But the world had other plans. Then, it came. That uneasy quiet, like the air itself holding its breath. Elena frowned and glanced toward the window. 3 black SUVs had stopped at the end of the street. Her pulse quickened. Men in dark suits stepped out, moving with the precision of hunters. Elena whispering, "No, no, no, no." She rushes to Matteo, grabbing his hand. "Elena, Matteo, we have to go. Now." Matteo frightened. "Is it them?" Elena, shakily, "I don't know, but we can't stay here." She led him toward the back door, but froze when she saw shadows moving past the window. 2 men, armed, searching. Her breath caught in her throat. Elena whispering, "Stay quiet. Don't make a sound." The sound of rain masked their footsteps as she pulled Matteo into the storage room. The air smelled of dust and old wood. She pressed him close, her trembling hand over his mouth. Outside, the door burst open. Man 1 gruff voice. "Check every room." The boss said the kid's in here somewhere. Man 2. "And the woman?" Man 1. "Orders are the same. No witnesses." Elena's world tilted. Her heart pounded so hard she feared they'd hear it. Matteo's tiny fingers gripped her sleeve. Tears welled in her eyes, but she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Man 2 from the next room. "Nothing here." Man 1. "Then check upstairs." Elena slowly exhaled, her voice trembling. Elena whispering, "We have to get out through the garden." She pushes the back door slightly. Hinges creak. The rain hits harder. Narrator. They step outside, barefoot on wet grass, the world around them gray and trembling. But just as she turned to run, sound. Gun cocking. Man 1 coldly. "Don't move." Elena froze, pulling Matteo behind her. The man stood under the rain, gun aimed steady, eyes lifeless. Man 1. "Hand over the boy. You don't know what you're involved in." Elena defiant, voice shaking. "He's just a child." Man 1. "He's a liability." Voice off screen, deep, commanding. "That's enough." A man in a black coat stepped out from the other side of the street. The rain dripped from his hair, his eyes dark with fury. The attackers froze. Even they looked terrified. Man 2 quietly. "Boss!" Narrator. It was him. Vincenzo Moretti. Vincenzo coldly. "I told you to find my son. Not destroy everything in your path." Man 1. "Boss, we thought." Vincenzo cutting him off. "You thought wrong." The rain fell harder, washing the blood into the dirt. Elena gasped, shielding Matteo's eyes, shaking in disbelief. Vincenzo turning toward her. "You brought him home." Elena stared at him. This was the man she'd heard about in whispers, the monster of the city. Yet in his eyes, there was something else, pain. Elena hesitant. "I didn't know who he was. I just wanted to help him." Vincenzo softly, dangerous calm. "And now you know." Vincenzo. "You've saved my son. That means you're under my protection. But it also means your life will never be the same." The words hung in the air, half warning, half promise. Elena stood frozen, drenched in rain, the weight of everything crushing her. Matteo ran into his father's arms, crying. And for a fleeting second, the feared mafia boss became just a father. He knelt down, whispering to his son, words lost under the storm. Then he turned his gaze back to Elena, sharp, unreadable. Vincenzo quietly, "You have no idea what your kindness has cost you." But before he could say more, a sniper's red dot appeared on his shoulder. Elena screaming, "Get down." Bullets tore through the air as more cars arrived. Rival men, more dangerous, more ruthless. The attack wasn't over. It had just begun. Elena crawled toward Matteo, pulling him to safety behind a broken wall. Her ears rang, her vision blurred, but she could see Vincenzo fighting back, unflinching, like a shadow of death himself. The sight terrified her, and yet something inside her refused to run. Elena determined, whispering to Matteo, "We survived this. Together." When the noise finally died, the street was painted in rain and blood. The air smelled of gunpowder and smoke. Vincenzo stood in the middle of it, wounded but alive. He looked toward Elena again, eyes filled with something new, gratitude and danger. He walks toward her, limping. Vincenzo, low voice. You saved him once. Now you'll have to save yourself. Because when the mafia spills blood in daylight, the war doesn't end with the storm. It begins after it. She never asked for a reward. She never sought power or protection or danger. All she did was help a child lost in the rain. But in a world ruled by blood and loyalty, even kindness, the morning after the attack didn't bring peace. Only the echo of what was lost. Elena sits by the window of an unfamiliar room, her hands trembling as she stares at the bandages wrapped around them. Her reflection in the glass is pale, fragile, but alive. Barely. She whispers to herself, Elena, why did I help that boy? The door creaks open. Vincenzo Moretti steps inside. No suit this time, just a white shirt stained faintly with blood. His usual coldness has softened, but his presence still chills the air. Vincenzo quietly, you shouldn't blame yourself, Elena. What happened? It's my fault. Elena, your fault? You brought death into my home. They killed my neighbor, my friend, because of your world. Elena through tears. All I did was help your son. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this life. Vincenzo's jaw tightens. His eyes darken. For a moment, the feared mafia boss disappears, and what's left is a man drowning in guilt. Vincenzo, you saved the only thing that matters to me, my boy. You did what no one else could. I owe you more than I can ever repay. He steps closer, his tone low but steady. Vincenzo, but you must understand. Once you touch this world, there's no going back. For the first time, Elena sees the truth, not the monster the city whispers about, but the man who lost everything to power, now bound by gratitude to a stranger. Vincenzo, there's a flight to Florence in 3 hours. You'll be safe there. New name, new life. Take it before they find you again. Elena looks at the passport, then at him. Her voice trembles. Elena, you think I can just run away? Pretend none of this happened? That your men didn't kill to save me? Vincenzo, I'm giving you a chance to live. That's more than most people ever get around me. He turns to leave, but she stops him. Elena, what about your son? Does he even know what you've done? Vincenzo softly. He will. Someday. But I want him to remember kindness, not blood. Elena, then stop this. Let him grow up free from this world. Promise me that. Vincenzo, kindness doesn't survive in my world. Elena, but maybe through you, he still has a chance. In another life, maybe their paths would have crossed differently. Maybe kindness wouldn't have come with a price. Vincenzo furious. They found us. Stay down. He pulls a pistol from his jacket, firing back through the shattered glass. Elena. Vincenzo, no. Stop. You'll get killed. But he doesn't listen. His men rush in, returning fire. The chaos is deafening. Smoke fills the air. In that single moment she realizes he's fighting not for revenge but for her. Elena crawls toward him, tears streaking down her face. Elena, you're hurt. Please just let me help. Vincenzo weakly smiles. Seems kindness runs both ways now. Elena, why are you doing this for me? Vincenzo, because in a world full of monsters you were the only one who reminded me I was still human. And as the sun breaks through the clouds, Elena realizes the rain had never been the danger. It was what followed after. The storm of loyalty, love, and sacrifice. Elena whispering through tears. This was the price of kindness. Sometimes, one act of kindness can change everything, or destroy it. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this one. Because sometimes, behind every stranger you help,